Hi everybody, Shalu Popli this side. Welcome to the Extraordinary Show. And today we have a very special guest, yes, Mr. David Kaspar, who is a philosopher and a high performance coach. He has published books like Intuitionalism and Exploration in Ethics. He has written many journal articles on philosophy. He teaches philosophy at Rutgers University. He has developed a program, High Performance Stoicism. Let's hear from him. Let's welcome him and hear his extraordinary story. Welcome, David, and thank you
Hi,
for accepting the invite.
hi, Shalu. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to talk to you about people improving their lives today. So, uh, thanks for having me.
Most welcome. So, would you like to introduce yourself in your own words?
Okay. So, for since my college years, all the way through graduate school, I've been studying philosophy and trying to live by what I've learned in philosophy. And one of the things that's been included in that is the ethics of ancient philosophers.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a young lecturer at the University of Nevada, Reno, I got into a situation in my life, and I had a I had a serious breakup. I found out I would not be chosen as a tenure track professor despite working at the school for a year. And so I was looking around for how I can improve my life. I noticed I didn't have as many journal articles as I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and it was time to get going. So that's when I got into personal development. And the relation between philosophy and personal development is quite interesting because in philosophy, if you're going to be just a average researcher, you
Mm-hmm.
have to become a very skeptical person because if you have anything in your articles that uh, any points that are not well supported, that could be enough to get your work rejected.
Okay.
So going into personal development was interesting because you were asked to believe a lot of things you have no evidence for. But what I found was taking certain aspects of personal development seriously. I started to publish more and I started to get my life more in order. And that's the general story that has brought me to where I am today.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, what inspired you to become a coach?
Well, one thing that happened a dozen years ago was I started to notice that people online were starting to get really excited about Stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
And some books became high selling books. And when I read one of these books, a book by Ryan Holiday called The Obstacle is the Way, I
Mm-hmm.
was encouraged that he was taking this and using it for personal development. So I was really excited. But then when I started to read the book, I started to think, okay, well, that's not quite right. I think that's wrong. And so I said, okay, at some point, I'm going to have to straighten this out.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years ago, 5 years ago, I started to give lectures on how connecting my two interests, how Stoicism is helpful for high performance. So I
Okay.
started to give lectures at libraries around New York City. But in my personal development work, I was forming a system out of everything I've learned over the years, from everything I've read and practiced. And what happened was I was trying to uh, design what I thought is the best high performance system there can be. And what I started to notice was, oh, this point the Stoics have. Oh, and yes, this point the Stoics have. And also this point. And then at some point, it just happened in a moment. I realized, okay, basically, my system had been taken over by Stoicism. So that was the birth of high performance Stoicism. And since then, I've been integrating everything I've learned practically from Stoicism to help people to become high performers.
Okay. So would you like to help my viewers know about this Stoicism? What is it exactly?
Well, it's an ancient philosophy from ancient Athens, ancient Greece,
Mm-hmm.
and it came into being 300 BC, and for about 500 years there was
Okay.
a living school of Stoicism. So there was during each era there was a head of the school, and basically they worked under the ideas of the founder named Zeno.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the philosophy? It's a comprehensive philosophy, and here's what's important for everybody to know about it. Stoicism says the goal of life is not making the most money, becoming famous, or anything like that. It's to develop your soul or your psyche into the most excellent state possible until you become an expert at living. Meaning, an expert at living means a master of living, you could say. You can handle any situation well, you can handle any situation beautifully. You are a master of living. So that's
Mm-hmm.
going to include some important things, and that's going so having your soul in a supremely excellent state, that is called virtue. And the
Mm-hmm.
ancient word for virtue was excellent. So basically, you're becoming a master of living. And one of the beautiful things about Stoicism is the things that most people think are important, they do play an important role, but they are subordinated to the role of developing yourself to the highest extent possible. Meaning, you want to be a great human being. And what would be a great human being? Well, it's given in the four virtues. So you want to be someone who is prudent,
Mm-hmm.
courageous, temperate or self-controlled, and just, meaning you would treat everybody with justice and kindness. And so things like having a great career, yes, you want to go for that, but
Okay.
whether you win this deal, whether your business fails, that's indifferent, meaning it's okay either way. The main
Mm.
thing is I am developing to become a person who is wise. And that's what virtue is. A wise person is a virtuous person.
Got it. So can we connect it to the fulfillment that we call a fulfilled
Uh,
life, right?
oh, well, definitely it is important to connect to it. And I think one of the best developments of the last 15 or 20 years, you have people like Tony Robbins saying success is not enough. What you really want is fulfillment. And
True.
basically, we're talking about the same thing that Stoicism is talking about.
Got it. Okay.
The the state of wisdom that they are having us aim for is one in which all joy comes from you. It comes
Within.
from, yeah, from within, from
Yeah.
the development of your mind. And if you think about it, think about the average person's workday. Suppose they're commuting.
Hmm.
So they're getting to the office. There are people in the office that are maybe trying to undermine them or talking about them, or they don't get the job, they don't get the assignments they wanted. And
Mm-hmm.
so think about going through traffic, getting to work. There's many things that can ruin your day, but here's why your day is ruined. As Epictetus says, it's
Mm-hmm.
not events that upset us, it's our judgments of events.
True. True.
So, in other
Yes.
words, if you realize, okay, I'm going to be late for work, and that's not a bad thing. It's not what I wanted, but it's not a big deal. So, you're part of becoming an expert at handling everything in life is you are able to keep everything in perspective,
Hmm.
even if it's going bankrupt, even
True.
if it's becoming rich. So that's so
Got it.
fulfillment comes from the actions of your mind, both
Hmm.
internal and external.
Hmm.
And wouldn't people be enjoying life much more if they go through the scenario that for many people is frustrating,
Yes.
ugly, even a nightmare, but then handling it beautifully and seeing, oh yeah, this really isn't one of the important things. But and this someone in training is going to say, oh great, there's a traffic jam. This gives me a chance to recenter my mind. So
Yes.
that's part of the picture.
Cool, right. Thank you for the beautiful explanation. As we say that we don't experience life, we experience the things that we focus on, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things that uh, one of the most important principles in Stoicism is some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. And we all
True.
know that people could disagree about what those things are, but just with that thought in mind, you can straighten out a lot of problems in your life, including, okay, I did my best in this presentation. Nobody bought, but that's out of my power because I know that I was very skillful
Hmm.
in presenting my product. And so, and it might not sound like a big deal at first, but even trying to use this distinction a few times, people will start to see the power of it. And then what
Right.
happens is as you practice this consistently, you start to say, you start to not even think it, oh, that no one bought. Well, that's not a problem. I did great. So, so, so what, like you said, your focus in high performance stoicism is going to be, it's going to be on your actions, your
Yes.
thoughts, and then everything else is put in perspective. And you could say, I'm not happy these things happen, but it doesn't bother me as much as it did. And in some cases, it's not going to bother you at all.
True. True. Right. So, what do you think that when we talk about the high performance, right? Why do you think that people are not able to perform at their full potential? What is the reason?
I think there's a single reason,
Mm-hmm.
and and I do want to say that the reasons people give definitely have some validity. There is such a thing as self-sabotage. There is
Hmm.
such a thing as a limiting belief. I'm not worthy and so on. But I think there's just one reason, and it is you have false beliefs. And
Okay.
just to show you that, if you, for example, get in a really bad traffic jam, you're going to be late to work. When your weekend starts and you're with your family and enjoying a meal, you've forgotten about that problem. You
Yes.
saw it as a big deal,
Hmm.
but in fact, it's really not. It's because you have false beliefs about the situation. And some of the false beliefs are it's bad if there's a traffic jam, or I didn't get the promotion because I'm no good. So that's a false belief. So Stoicism gives you the beliefs to identify as false, and and so by doing this, you get to substitute true beliefs, and you start to say, it's not a big deal if I didn't get the promotion. Now I have an idea of what I'm going to do differently. And so the next time there's an opportunity, I'm going to take it. And I could even, one thing that I advocate is using something that you would ordinarily take to be a disappointment. I say everything is fuel, meaning if you don't get a promotion, most people would become dejected because they give
Yeah.
the wrong judgment to it. I would say if you use the principle of everything is fuel, say, okay, that's it. I'm recognizing in certain ways where I didn't do given my all. I'm going to
Hmm.
use the next couple months to raise my game. And who knows, I might even start looking for another job. And
Right.
so it could, what seem most people think is a bad event, if you get adept at using your perspectives well, you could say, no, I need this because it's time for me to get my act really together.
True. True. Yes. So it's all about our mindset, all about our perspective, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Agree.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, David. So on this show, we particularly what we do is that we hear to the other people's extraordinary stories. What are those? Is like the worst times proves to be the blessings in life. You said that your inspiration was a breakup, right?
Right.
So would you like to
Well,
talk about that little bit with us? What did you learn from that and all?
it's interesting that you raise that because I was using everything as fuel,
Hmm.
and I didn't even have that. I didn't even have that formulated because I responded with some kind of defiance and okay, that's it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm taking what I'm doing more seriously. And so the blessing came about because it it gave me a difficulty and a challenge because another part of it was I was way across the country from where I grew up, so all my old friends and family
Mm-hmm.
are on the East Coast, and
Mm-hmm.
so okay, I'm really out here on my own, and now's the time, as I put it, to enter the arena, which means that uh, I'm going to use everything that happens in my environment as a resource to raise my game.
Wow.
And so that's something people could do. People don't even need a a negative event, a so-called negative event. All they have to do is ask, am I really where I want to be? And ask, have I done everything in my power to get what I want? And when you say, no, I'm not where I want to be. No, I haven't done everything in my power. And you reflect on that and experience that, that in itself can give you great motivation to move in the direction you want to.
True, true. Yep. Okay. So after all that experience, after knowing about the philosophy and high performance and everything, till your experience so far, what is life according to you?
Well, life is a human life is a series of events for a person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very uh, bare description of what life is. But in in one part of it, which is what's great about being a human being, is that every event, every moment is also an opportunity.
Right, right.
And so it's up to us to say, okay, what do I want out of this? And one of the beautiful things about another beautiful thing about Stoicism is all events are simply materials for your performance to respond to them with a certain thought, a certain action. And so one of the big things that I think, going back to your question before, what holds people back, their false beliefs. Here is what I would say is another false belief that is problematic for many people, even if they really have their act together. Most people live their life to get things. Okay, so I want money coming my way. I
Mm-hmm.
want I want popularity coming my way. I want
Right.
fame. I want a great mate. Whatever the people want, life is about getting things, and that's why we work. Now, a couple years ago, I discovered, by understanding Stoicism better and living by it, I understand Stoicism comes at this from a different perspective. And so life is about training for excellence.
Okay.
The better you get at using your mind in a courageous way, in a prudential way, in a self-controlled way, the better you get at all these things. Part of what happens is you are going to get things are going to come into your life, but you're going
Yeah.
to realize the joy and excitement you get by actually becoming a stronger, wiser person.
Right.
That's going to be greater than getting the goodies.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
so it really is all about the state of your soul at any point, but and also we think at the end of it, what do you want the state of your soul to be? And
Yes.
and it's interesting because one part of what you're doing in this whole process is you're revealing these powers that you have that
Hmm.
many times you didn't even suspect you have.
Right.
And I'll give you one example that was and some of these things that you experience are somewhat surprising. You don't expect them, but just by working on training yourself, they're going to happen. Uh, Before I went to a philosophy conference last
Mm-hmm.
year, and it was in Israel. It was far away from New York, and I was so excited to be at the conference. I was invited to be at it, and I sat down next to someone and said, "Isn't it great that we're all talking about this one topic in ethics?" And the man that I sat down next to us, he learned that I hold to the view intuitionism, which is the name of my book.
Yeah.
And so he said, we don't agree on the same ethical view. I heard what you said over there. You're an intuitionist. And he started to give me a hard time, right? And it was interesting because if this happened to me just 4 years ago, and
Hmm.
just 4 years ago, I would have been upset. I would have been defensive. It might have ruined my day, and it might have ruined the conference, which would have been very
Right.
bad because I put so much into to getting there, and I was excited to be there. But the amazing thing was, it really didn't bother me at all. And I said, well, I asked him questions about my view, which he really didn't know much about. And then I didn't even move my seat, right? I wasn't upset about it. So one thing that I think is has been a great experience and blessing for me, which anyone can have, is that you start to find you have powers within you didn't know you were capable of having, and so it does shift your personality toward a stronger, more
Mm-hmm.
accepting state.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. And I love the way that you said that instead it's good to have goals to have the things, but it's more important to have the goals what you want to be, right? So to
Exactly.
have and to
Yep.
be both. Both should be the part of our goals. Yes.
Exactly. And Jim Rohn, who was the teacher of Tony Robbins, the
Yeah.
mentor of Tony Robbins, he said, "It's not what you get out of life that is the most important thing. It's who you become."
Right.
And people tend to brush that off, but he was speaking from real experience
Hmm.
and so here is a goal. If you want to be, I'm sure you have a lot of people that have great goals. And let's
Hmm.
say their goal is, I want to make 10 million. I want to make 100 million, or I want this company to do this or that. If you just shift your thinking a little about this and you say, I want to be the person who makes this,
Hmm.
then it's tied together and these are connected because you need all these experiences, you need all these challenges to
Hmm.
develop yourself. But
Right.
this way you're not haunted by the money.
Yes.
And I think that's a great benefit of it, because every day you're working on your work, but you're really working on yourself.
Yes. See, this in discussion is so interesting. I think it can go on and on and on, but we have a limited time, right? So I'll move on to my next question, which I ask everybody. What is your personal development routine?
My personal development routine. Okay.
Yes.
So my personal development routine is I'll get and so morning routines. My personal morning routine is I'm going to do some kind of simple exercises, stretches, a plank for about 7 minutes, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to get to work. And so I do believe in important things like mindfulness. I try to
Mm-hmm.
do 12 minutes of mindfulness every day, but
Okay.
those are things that come later because in the morning, you're in a optimal state to get work done. And
Right.
there's nothing like the first 2 hours where you get your most important thing over and done with. And so things that I have, such as affirmations, though my approach to that is those are going to come at different points in the day. So I don't have everything with a strict point except the morning routine and the evening routine.
Okay.
And it does depend upon what you're doing, which whether this is optimal or not. In terms of personal development, so I'm going to do some kind of visualization at some point in the morning later, and my rule for breaks is as follows: 5 minutes per hour, and so that means if I'm working 2 hours, somewhere there's going to be 10 minutes that are off. There's going to be a break in there. If I'm working for 3 hours, 15 minutes.
15
So
minutes.
somewhere. So it's kind of a loose approach. And one thing I do is for every hour, and this is important for high performance, for every hour, I give myself a little letter. And it doesn't matter what the letters are. What I recommend to everybody is come up with 5 grades. Okay. And the top grade is wholehearted action, right? Or wholehearted work. And then excellent, and then average, and the pits, and the worst, right? Or poor and the worst. And here's the thing: for every hour, you have to be honest, especially about the top part.
Okay.
Okay, what did I do? That was excellent. It wasn't wholehearted. That was average, meaning I started playing with my phone a little. Whatever everybody has to make up their own criteria, but what constitutes, wholehearted, excellent, average, and so on. And then the other thing I do is for the items I have to do, I keep a table of that, and then I'm checking something off, right? Writing a post, writing a draft of a post. Did I read 10 pages of Stoicism today? So that's important. And here's the key for people to progress in terms of the number, right? Figure out what your number of things you did that were required work over the week. And then for the next week, just make sure you add 1 or 2. Meaning, if you're only doing half of what your work is, just add 1, 2, or maybe 3. Don't go for the gold medal because it's going to be tough. And so mathematically, the checks are going to be filled in a matter of weeks or months, and then you're rolling.
Awesome.
So those are some of the things.
Great strategy and tool. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. And the last thing, what's your message to my viewers who are the working professionals?
Okay. Working professionals, my message is intelligence over 10xing. Intelligence over totally going for it 24/7. And so, in other words, many people are advocating 10x your goals, 10x your work. And there are some industries that can work for. If it's all down to your sales calls and you're only making 5 a day, you can 10x that. And I'm not against 10xing, but I think more people need to be more reflective. They need to schedule their day, to do the most important things. And then becoming, someone who's a 10xer, that's going to come, but start with intelligence, review what you're doing, and, write down everything you do each day is one way to review. And then be honest with yourself and just say, okay, what's the rational next move to get better? And for most people, it is, I'm going to do my most important thing every day. Rather than, because some people substitute energy for intelligence, and then that, a lot of times that's just it's not really leading to anything. That would be my main message.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing all these golden nuggets with us today. And thank you so much for being here. I hope you
Thank
also
you. Thank you for
enjoyed
having me.
sharing all this with us.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you so much and have a great life ahead. And yeah, thank you so much for doing what you are doing. And every day you are posting some of the other questions. Those are actually helping me to reflect on my life. That's why I invited you because I wanted to have your perspective on the life, on everything. I mean, all these things that we have discussed today. Yes. So
Well,
thank
I'm
you
glad
so
you
much.
like it, and you're most welcome.
Thank you. So I'll connect with you sometime soon because I want to go into a deeper discussion on these topics.
Okay, great. Anytime.
Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.
You too.
Yeah, thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So this was David Kaspar who shared golden nuggets from his very own life experiences. I hope you enjoyed and learned those things. The major thing was reflection. You have to reflect on your life if you always want to keep on improving in your life. With this message, I am signing off today from this live, and I shall come live pretty soon with another guest, extraordinary guest. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a good day and good night.